There has been talk lately of a soft landing for the U.S. economy and the possibility of avoiding a recession. But there are wild cards that could force a slowdown. As you know, the writers and actors are striking. They could soon be joined by UPS workers, trucking workers from Yellow, and auto workers from the big three automakers. If those negotiations all fall through, well over 500,000 Americans could be off the job and on the picket lines. That is not all. There's also a giant red flashing light in Canada. An on-again, off-again strike at West Coast ports that threatens a new global supply chain crisis. We have breaking news on this, so don't go anywhere. The fundamental issue is how much do the workers get to share in the record profits? How much do the people who do the work matter? Collectively, they argue quite a lot. Both the White House and the Biden re-election campaign teams are watching all of this. The president met briefly with the United Auto Workers head on Wednesday. And while he's not putting himself in the middle of negotiations, our Mike Memoli reports that the president's labor allies are worried that if Biden does get involved, it will undercut labor's leverage. Joining me now is CNBC's Lori-Ann LaRocco. Lori-Ann, it's really good to have you. Let's look broadly for a moment. What could it mean to have almost 600,000 Americans on strike all at once?
You know, it's the trickle-down effect. It's the whole thing of we all matter. And so when you look at the individuals that are looking to strike, be from the ports to the trucking to the warehouses, it's the people that serve those folks that are going off the job. It's the caterers. It's the dry cleaners. It's the luncheonettes. All of these people all have that smack ripple effect. And that's the problem here in terms of all of these strikes. It's not just the people that are holding up the trade or holding up the movies or the latest and greatest Netflix film. It's about the people that serve the various economies, and everybody matters. And you see it and you touched on it. Labor knows their worth. And when it comes to their worth, they want a piece of that pie, the billion-dollar pie. And this is what we are facing as of right now.
So the ports up in Canada, you've been covering them for us. You've been covering the ports down here. This has been an on-again, off-again strike. It's threatened to affect us and our supply chain. There's a little bit of breaking news on this now. What's going on?
Well, just a few minutes ago, I got off the phone with the union, and they told me they've cleared the first hurdle with this tentative deal. And so starting on Tuesday, all of the union members for the West Coast division of the ports over there are going to be voting on this deal. And so that means that the ports will be shut down for the first shift. And as it relates to what is the outcome of that vote, we will not know until several hours or maybe several days. They have not given any guidance as to the outcome of that vote.
So that would be partial good news for the supply chain. A UPS strike would not be good news for it. Is this sort of thing, though, all of these people on strike, the sort of thing that could send us into a recession?
It most definitely can. I spoke with one of an economist, Peter Bookvar, that said, you know, the economy is pretty darn fragile. And so when you're looking at the supply chain that is finally, you know, coming back together, any type of hiccup is something we do not want. And so that's what they're concerned about, is that we could tip into a recession because of all these things.
Lori-Ann LaRocco, thank you very much for coming on and joining us to talk about everything that's going on. We appreciate it. Joining me now is the General President of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Sean O'Brien. Sean, it's great to have you. Are you worried about the supply chain and tipping the country into a recession with the strike?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you taking the time to have us on the show. No, I'm not worried. You know, our focus has been and always will be on taking care of our rank and file members and making certain that their future is secure. UPS should be asked that question, because if UPS doesn't give our members what they want and deserve, then UPS will actually be putting themselves on strike.
So what are your members asking for from UPS? What is UPS not doing right now to make it fair for them?
Yeah, our members work very hard. They work a lot of hours. UPS has a rhetoric saying that the full-timers make $93,000 per year, but that's not their base pay. They're working 60, 65 hours per week, getting forced in on their days off. And the part-timers, 100,000 part-timers throughout UPS make less than $20 per hour. And these are the unsung heroes. These are the folks that load the packages, unload the packages on the trucks so that we can provide goods and services to this country. Through the pandemic, Our members were forced to work in awful conditions with no regard for their own health and safety. We lost members who died. All the while, UPS's profits doubled. They made $100 billion last year. They rewarded their stockholders 50% increase in their dividends, and they have lucrative bonuses for CEOs and executives. All the while, none of those folks ever touched a package or helped provide any goods and services to this country. Our members need to be rewarded.
You're touching on what I keep hearing from union leaders. I was talking to Fran Drescher the other day, and she was decrying the amount of money that the studio heads were making compared to what the average actor was making. And this is the same thing you're saying here. Look at what these CEOs are making compared to what the average workers are making. What specifically do you want from UPS? How much more money, break time, et cetera? What is it?
It comes down to economics. We solved 95% of the non-economic issues on behalf of our members. Now it's strictly down to money. We tried to get the deal done July 5th. 4:15 a.m. UPS walked out and said they have no more money to give. So it's all about economics right now. The company, we have been putting pressure on the company publicly, doing informational picketing, practice picketing. And so they called us on Wednesday and asked if we could meet next week to try and get a deal.
Do you see the fact that the Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA picketing right now as a benefit to you? Does it work to your advantage to also be on the picket line with that 180,000 people?
Well, most people don't know that we have about 25,000 Teamsters that are out of work right now in the motion picture industry because we are honoring that picket line. So although it seems like we all have our own issues to deal with, but it comes down to corporate greed, corporate America. You look at the people we're fighting at UPS right now, who their biggest customer and also competitor is Amazon. Now Amazon's in streaming media. So it all comes down to rewarding Main Street, not keep rewarding Wall Street. And I think the attitudes of these corporations, I think it's just it's criminal in some of the things they do to these workers that provide them the success. And I think it's just people are fed up no matter what union you're in.
The President of the United States got involved in the railroad strike that was averted. Do you want the President of the United States involved in negotiating this contract?
Absolutely not. I think reasonable people come to the table with reasonable expectations and solutions. We can get this thing done. You know, in my neighborhood, and I keep saying this where I grew up in Boston, when there was conflict between two people or two parties and you had nothing to do with it, you should just keep walking by and let them resolve their issues.
The president is a huge labor ally. Why would he not be helpful?
Well, you know, he's a huge labor ally. There's no doubt about it. I just don't think that they can be helpful. We know, UPS knows what they need to give to our members. We know what our members need. And there's no reason for anybody to get involved, although the administration has been very supportive. Acting Secretary of Labor Julie Su has called and checked in, but that's the extent, and that's okay. I'm confident that if UPS is sincere, we've been very clear on what our members want and need. We've stated our intentions for a year. This is totally in UPS's court right now.
Sean O'Brien. Sean, thank you very much. And this is not the only union negotiation we're going to be talking about. Coming up next, why isn't anyone talking? What's happening in Hollywood?